Hi, everyone, and welcome to Forbes Newsroom. I'm Diane Brady, Assistant Managing Editor at Forbes, and I am here with Jabari Young, Senior Writer covering sports business, and I think very importantly just wrote a terrific story on the Washington Commanders. Jabari, how was the trip?
Thank you, Diane. I appreciate the welcome. And I would say it was pretty interesting. You know, here's a franchise that is in transition. Everyone, or a lot of people, I should say, not everyone, are probably aware of their past issues involving workplace culture, misconduct, sexual harassment allegations, and what have you. But, you know, it's always interesting. You know, you can kick a franchise or person while they're down, or you can just check in and say, okay, how are you guys dealing with this now that we're 2 years in?
Right, and 2 years in being basically Jason Wright coming in to take over as president.
Yeah, and so, you know, listen, this is maybe the third, fourth time that me and him got a chance to just shake hands and talk, and went out for drinks afterwards and just kind of get an update on that particular trip. So listen, I took the Amtrak down. No, I'm not going to take you through that.
Yeah, we'll go, but let's start. I mean, I want to start with on a very basic level. This is an NFL franchise that rebranded completely because it had to.
Yeah.
So even just the fact, what was the culture like? Remind us what the issues were under the Snyders or otherwise, and the fines and all the stuff that some people might have forgotten.
Yeah, well, it was pretty horrific culture is what it was, right? And again, you have, you know, former cheerleaders, people in their front office just really disturbed by, you know, what they believe was just, again, misconduct within the workplace. And, you know, all of those details, when they get put out there on a public level, they all look harsh. They all look horrendous. They all look horrible. And they are. And so how does a guy like Jason Wright come in and not get caught up in the moment that he's the first black president? Like, people forget he's the first black president, team president in the NFL. If you don't count Kevin Warren, who was with the Minnesota Vikings for a very long time.
And a former player.
And a former player, right? Even though he doesn't even count those years because people don't remember, right?
Yeah.
Jason will tell you, he got cut, 8, 9 times in the first year and a half. But still, you know, listen, you've worked with him.
McKinsey, my former McKinsey colleague.
Absolutely. And so you know the type of guy he is. He is one of those people, when you walk into a room, he just brings people in. He brings people together. Right now, how long was it going to take for him to do that in Washington? Obviously, we know right now it's 2 years. He said an interesting quote to me when we were, you know, in his office, Suite 439, if you read the story, that the blocking and tackling is in place. You know, in other words, that they've set out, they went out, they hired the people who they feel, Jason feels, is going to have his back as he goes and tackles a completely different project with that new stadium and that new venue that, again, could help solve the racial wealth gap. Not completely abolish it, but at least tackle it in that particular area. So he has a lot on his plate. And so to see how he was kind of handling that was a really interesting time. And then you walk through the office and you see the different employees, and
much more diverse.
It's not only much more diverse, but I felt, and again, this is only one time of me walking through that office, and it could be a show, but I felt like there was some energy there. I felt that walking through the ticket office. Now, again, it could have been completely scripted, right? But somebody, as I'm walking through, getting a tour, somebody rings the big giant gong. Because, you know, it's like a scene out of Wolf on Wall Street, you know?
Yeah.
Boom! I'm like, what in the world is that?
Yeah.
And apparently they hit that gong every time they make a huge ticket sale deal.
Oh.
So stuff like that has a way of trickling down, right?
But there's nothing quite like a team winning. I mean, if you have to look at the end of the day, what makes or breaks a franchise is their record. And so far they have, what?
One win.
One win, which is better than one loss.
You start the season off with a win. That's a good way to enter, right? I mean, listen, it's it wasn't the best game, I'm sure, but you started off with a win, and that's what counts. And I think that's the momentum. You get a piece from Forbes, which by itself is pretty good.
Huge.
And then you open the season with a win. I feel like that's the proper momentum that hopefully that franchise needs, with Jason leading the way and obviously Tanya, co-CEO now, to kind of get the ball rolling in the right direction. Will they have their bumps and bruises along the way? I'm sure they will. But it's good to see Jason starting the process. Not like he's just started, but it's good to see the process now in motion of what he has in mind. And the culture side of it, still a ways to go, but you do see some improvement.
Well, let's step back because it's a microcosm of the NFL writ large. And first of all, he's no longer the only black president in the franchise. Do you feel that there has been this shift within the NFL itself in terms of some of the changes that Jason's put in place? Are we seeing that across the board, do you think, at a lot of other teams, or is it really unique?
You know, I can't say that because I haven't been in every other team's
God,
front office.
everybody's got to invite Jabari to come walk the halls.
I haven't examined that, right, from the lens of an everyday fan, you know, and but I would say that, you know, listen, you see it in certain organizations, you know, but again, in Washington, you know, keeping it on them because I was there, you see improvement. And again, on the field, as you said, you got to win on the field, and I think they know that. When you win in the NFL, things seem to kind of go down, right? The public relations get better, and you're winning. Not to say that you ignore these things, but at least they're putting things in motion that's going to at least put them in position to be successful. Still a long way to go. And there are going to be people out there who wants nothing to do with the Washington football team, now the Washington Commanders, because of the owner. And you can't change that. But I do not feel that, as of now, the Snyder family,
you had a chance to meet them.
I had a chance to talk and meet with Tanya Snyder, and who spoke on behalf of her family and as co-owner. And, you know, listen, she herself is learning. She herself is kind of getting into the groove of, you know, basically co-running an NFL franchise with Jason Wright, and obviously Dan Snyder has still, you know, his hands on the controls, but she's the face, he's the face of that front office of the business, and she's still learning, he's still learning, because remember, he's never been an NFL team president. Player is one thing, being a team president other, and so I like what I see. What's going to, again, be the determining factor is if they, you know, raise the Lombardi trophy. And for Jason Wright, he has to get that new stadium delivered. If he gets that, then I think it's going to put him in a position to be maybe even better or even further than a team president.
More to come.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Jabari.
Yeah, thank you.